In today's video, you'll learn something that can really help you. So like it and subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. Let's get started.
The sun was still rising when the bang echoed across the savannah. Toomey, a rhinoceros calf only 3 months old, felt the ground tremble beneath his paws. He ran toward his mother, but when he reached the mud puddle where she used to rest, he found only silence. His mother's enormous body was lying down, completely motionless. Fresh blood flowed across the dry earth, forming small dark streams. Armed men shouted in the distance, celebrating among themselves. Toomey pressed his snout against his mother's neck. She didn't move. He pushed with his head, desperately trying to wake her. Nothing happened. The little rhinoceros began to tremble violently. His small eyes searched for help, for any sign of life around him. But the savannah seemed completely empty. The other animals had fled in terror at the deafening sound of the gunshots. It was then that he heard a different sound, a sharp screech coming from above. Toomey raised his head and saw a small figure jumping from branch to branch in the solitary acacia tree. It was Jabari, a vervet monkey with gray fur and a dark face. He climbed down carefully, watching the helpless calf with attentive eyes. Jabari knew that loss looked well. He himself had lost his family years earlier, when cruel hunters invaded his native territory. The monkey approached slowly, without making any sudden movements. Toomey stepped back, frightened and confused, but Jabari didn't attack. He simply sat beside the rhinoceros mother's body and made a low sound, almost like a deep lament of understanding. Toomey stopped trembling for a brief moment. There was something about that small, unknown animal that made him feel less alone in the world. The armed men began to approach again. Jabari jumped, grabbed Toomey's ear gently, and pulled. The calf understood. He needed to get out of there. With wobbly legs, Toomey followed the monkey into the low vegetation. They ran together until they hid behind some rocks. There, panting, they stayed in absolute silence while the cruel voices passed nearby. When everything returned to silence, Toomey rested his head on the ground. Jabari climbed onto his back and stayed there keeping watch. Neither of them knew it yet, but that was the beginning of something that would challenge all the rules of nature. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Leave in the comments what you thought and which city you're watching from. During the first difficult days, Toomey followed Jabari everywhere without ever losing sight of him. The monkey leaped agilely through the trees while the rhinoceros walked heavily underneath, always looking up with his small, frightened eyes. When Jabari stopped to eat ripe fruit, he carefully threw some down. Toomey sniffed with interest, but couldn't chew properly. He urgently needed low vegetation, soft and moist grass. Jabari quickly realized this and began guiding the lost calf to small hidden clearings where the grass grew green and abundant. At night, Toomey trembled with fear. Every sound startled him. Jabari climbed down from the tree and slept leaning against the rhinoceros's warm body. It was strange, but it worked. The little monkey snored softly while Toomey finally relaxed. For the first time since the tragedy, he managed to sleep for a few hours straight. But not everything was peaceful. Other animals watched that strange pair with suspicion. Hyenas circled in the distance, testing. They knew that a calf alone was easy prey. Jabari sensed the danger. He began teaching Toomey to recognize signs of threat, a specific growl, a movement in the shadows, the scent of the wind changing direction. One afternoon, 3 hungry hyenas slowly approached. They laughed in that chilling way only they know how. Toomey froze completely. Jabari climbed onto the calf's back and began shouting loudly, beating his own chest and baring his sharp teeth. The hyenas hesitated. It was too bizarre. A monkey fiercely defending an orphaned rhinoceros? They advanced anyway, too hungry to give up. That was when something unexpected happened. Toomey, driven by an instinct he didn't even know he had, charged forward. His small horn was still harmless, but the weight of his body frightened the hyenas. They backed away, surprised. Jabari took advantage and threw dry branches at them, screaming nonstop. The hyenas realized that this prey would be too much trouble. They moved away, but did not leave completely. That night under the stars, Jabari did not sleep. He stayed awake and alert, watching every shadow. Toomey noticed the sacrifice. For the first time, he understood that he wasn't just being followed by a curious monkey. He was being protected, and that changed everything. The calf pressed his snout against the little guardian, an awkward gesture of deep gratitude. Jabari scratched Toomey's head and closed his eyes for a few seconds. They were together now, for better or for worse. The weeks passed slowly and Toomey grew quickly. His body became stronger and more resilient with each passing day. The small horn was beginning to take real shape. But something much more important was also growing inside him. True confidence. He no longer trembled when he heard strange sounds in the darkness. Jabari had taught his survival lessons very well. The monkey developed increasingly clever strategies to protect them. He marked trees with deep scratches, creating a detailed mental map of the safe territory. He took Toomey to drink water at different times, avoiding patterns that predators might notice. When it rained, Jabari found natural shelters among the rocks where both of them could take cover. But the hyenas did not give up. They watched from afar, waiting for the right moment. The leader of the pack, an experienced female with deep scars, studied the pair with dangerous patience. She noticed something. The monkey always climbed the trees when he sensed danger. If she could separate the two, Toomey would be vulnerable. Jabari also noticed the constant surveillance. He needed to prepare Toomey for the inevitable confrontation. He began training the calf in subtle ways. He pushed thick branches toward him, teaching him to use his horn. He provoked short runs, developing his speed. It all seemed like play, but it was survival training. One foggy morning, Jabari did something different. He climbed a distant tree and stayed there, calling Toomey. The rhinoceros walked to the base, confused. Jabari did not come down. He only watched. Toomey felt something strange. Was it fear? Not exactly. It was the feeling of being alone, even while seeing his protector nearby. For hours, Jabari remained in the tree. Toomey grazed nervously, constantly looking up. Then the sounds appeared. Hyenas approaching. Toomey searched for Jabari with his eyes. The monkey was there, but he did not move. He only watched intensely. The hyenas slowly surrounded Toomey. There were 4 now. The calf stepped back, pressing against a large rock. His heart raced. He expected Jabari to come down screaming, as he always did. But the monkey remained still, only staring fixedly. It was in that terrible moment that Toomey understood. Jabari would not come to save him this time. He needed to save himself. The training, the games, everything made sense now. The hyenas advanced. Toomey took a deep breath. His legs stopped trembling. He lowered his head, pointed his young horn forward, and, for the first time in his life, roared with all the strength he had inside him. Toomey's roar echoed across the entire savanna. It was not as powerful as that of a mature adult, but it carried pure and true determination. The hyenas stopped immediately, surprised. That frightened calf was no longer trembling with fear. The pack leader growled, very irritated. She advanced first, testing the young rhinoceros's courage. Toomey did not step back even once. He remembered the training. He lowered his head and charged with all the speed he had. His small horn struck the hyena's flank. She screamed in pain and rolled on the ground. The other three hesitated. This was not their plan. Jabari remained in the tall tree, but his eyes shone with pride. He would not interfere. Not yet. Toomey needed to prove to himself that he was capable. The second hyena tried to attack from behind. Toomey spun quickly, using the weight of his body as a weapon. The hyena did not expect such agility. She was hit and fell heavily. The two remaining ones began to retreat, but the scarred leader would not accept defeat. She was old, experienced, and desperate for food. With a calculated leap, she jumped onto Toomey's back, digging in her claws. The calf screamed in pain. Blood ran down his thick skin. He tried to shake her off, spinning violently, but the hyena held tight. It was exactly what she wanted, to tire out the prey. That was when Jabari came down. He did not scream. He made no noise. He simply leaped straight onto the leader hyena's face, clawing at her eyes with absolute fury. The hyena let go of Toomey and shook her head desperately, trying to get rid of the enraged monkey. Jabari jumped away at the right moment. Toomey took advantage. With the hyena temporarily blind and disoriented, he charged with all the strength he had left. His horn struck squarely. The hyena was thrown far away, crashing against a rock. She groaned, tried to get up, but gave up. The other three had already fled. Toomey staggered, exhausted and wounded. Jabari ran to him, climbing onto his back to examine the injuries. They were deep, but not fatal. The monkey licked the wounds carefully, a gesture of care and healing. That silent afternoon, something changed between them. Toomey was no longer the helpless calf who followed the monkey out of pure fear. Jabari was no longer just a solitary protector. They were a true family, forged in blood, trust, and courage. The savannah witnessed the birth of a bond that defied all the laws of nature. The following months brought peace. Toomey grew strong and imposing. His horn was sharp, his skin thick. Jabari aged a little, his fur gaining white strands. But they remained inseparable, exploring the savannah as they always had. One day, Toomey heard something different, a deep call that vibrated in his chest. He stopped and raised his head. In the distance, a familiar silhouette moved. It was another rhinoceros, then another, a small group. Jabari noticed the change in his friend. Toomey watched the rhinoceroses with an intensity the monkey had never seen before. It was curiosity mixed with something deeper. Recognition, belonging. For days, Toomey felt divided. He grazed near Jabari, but his eyes always searched for the distant group. The monkey understood. That inevitable moment had arrived. He could not give Toomey what those rhinoceroses could, a family of his own species. On a clear morning, Jabari did something that broke his own heart. He climbed the tallest tree and did not come down. Toomey waited below, confused. Jabari only looked toward the horizon, in the direction where the rhinoceroses were grazing. Then he looked at Toomey and made a soft sound, almost a whisper of farewell. Toomey understood. His eyes grew wet. He walked to the base of the tree and pressed his forehead against the trunk, the closest he could get to his little father. Jabari climbed down just enough to touch Toomey's horn one last time. Without looking back, Toomey walked toward the other rhinoceroses. Each step was heavy. When he finally reached the group, they received him without hostility. He was one of them. Jabari watched from afar until Toomey disappeared on the horizon. The monkey stayed alone in that tree for hours, holding the memory of every moment they had lived. Years later, Jabari still wandered through the same region. He was old now, slower. One day, he heard heavy footsteps. He turned and saw a magnificent adult rhinoceros approaching. But it wasn't just any rhinoceros. It was Toomey, bigger, stronger, accompanied by a female and two small calves. Toomey lowered his head. Jabari climbed onto his horn like in the old days. The calves watched curiously while the old monkey and the giant rhinoceros remained together in silence. Some families are not born for blood. They are born from choice, sacrifice, and love that defies all logic. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and tell in the comments where you're watching from.